Hello there! Time flies so fast. It's the end of another season. But don't worry, we'll be back for a season 3. Just remember to keep liking, commenting, and sharing if you would like to support our channel. But I digress. Let us talk about today's topic. Do you ever feel the more things change, the more they stay the same? There might be some truth to that. After all, about 5,000 years ago, people seemed to struggle with very similar problems we still face today. Let's take a look. Who doesn't know it? You just want to watch your favorite YouTuber and another ad break. Ads are a blight of modern civilization. But are they really all that modern? Turns out we found advertisements on clay tablets from around 2500 BCE in the Syrian city of Ebla. Through these tablets, we learned that Ebla was a place in which a wide range of local beers were brewed, and they fiercely competed for the consumer's attention. The archaeologist Alan Eames even claimed he found a stone slab that depicted a well-endowed woman holding two goblets with the slogan, "Drink Ebla, beer with the lion's heart" written on it. It is worth noting that Eames never provided any evidence of the stone slab, so take it with a grain of salt. It does however line up with similar advertisements from ancient Egypt that were found on papyrus, which were handed out as pamphlets and hung up as posters. But where there is advertisement, there is false advertisement. The most infamous case of it is probably the by now well-memed copper sold by the Sumerian merchant Nazir. We know of his exploits through a written complaint which archaeologists have found on a clay tablet. It was a man named Noni who wrote it about 1750 BCE after sending his servant on a difficult journey through a war zone to hand over the payment. The mentioned servant was apparently treated rudely by Nazir and told to take it or leave it. Then, to add insult to injury, he handed the wrong grade of copper over. The enraged Noni wrote, "Who is there amongst the Talmud traders who has ever acted against me in this way?" We know Nazir read the letter, since he responded with his own explaining further details of the transaction. Still, more evidence points at the merchant being shady, as another complaint letter about a delivery to a man named Abitarum that never arrived was also found in his home in Ur. Aside from being an amusing anecdote, this exchange of letters also tells us a lot about the trade routes of the time. As mentioned, Nazir was trading with copper from Talmud, a Semitic kingdom in East Arabia, while he himself was a Sumerian, at least judging by his name. It is believed the trade route he was active on stretched from Arabia all the way to India. The latter, however, is also one of the signs of decline, as archaeological evidence shows that Talmud was losing population. While the exact cause of this is unknown, falling population numbers and an economic downturn often go hand in hand. And in this case, it would make sense that the people of Talmud tried to make a quick buck by selling lower quality copper for a higher price. Nazir may or may not have noticed this. Yet merchants aren't the only tricksy dealers of the Bronze Age. Even great pharaohs stooped so low as to mix plenty of silver into their gifts of gold to fellow kings. We know this because we found plenty of written complaints about these issues in the Egyptian city Amarna, which was known as Akhetaten to its ancient dwellers. For example, the Kassite king Kadashman Enlil wrote that his brother Pharaoh Amenhotep III did not just no-show to a festival he was invited to in Babylon, the gift of gold that he sent in his stead apparently looked more like silver. The Kassites were a mysterious people, similar to the Sumerians that preceded them. They appear unrelated to any other people group and took over Mesopotamia by storm, even conquering the fabled city Babylon, which they made their capital. With this power base came a lot of pride. Still, Amenhotep seemed to have snubbed them. He could only do that if he felt Egypt was at least equal, if not greater in power. That way, even a diplomatic gaffe like this would not escalate into something worse. And indeed, Egypt was in one of its peak periods under his rule. Thus, he even allowed himself to rebuff Kadashman Enlil once more, as the Kassite asked for a daughter of the pharaoh to marry, and Amenhotep firmly and in very clear terms denied his request. From time immemorial, no daughter of the king of Egypt is given to anyone. Similarly, Ashur-uballit I, king of the Assyrians, had his problems with the pharaoh's gift, despite the fact that, in the words of the Assyrian, gold was as plentiful as dirt in Egypt. The pharaoh barely sent anything. The Assyrians were known as very brutal conquerors in their time, and they had just subjugated the Mitanni kingdom. In fact, Ashur's title wasn't just king of Assyria. No, he was also king of the universe. I'm not making this up. And yet Amenhotep had the guts to send this man a lacking gift. Yet peace remained between the empires. The Assyrians did attack and conquer some of the Kassite territory, however. Speaking of Assyrians, an Assyrian tablet from around 2800 BCE denotes, "Our earth is degenerate in these latter days. There are signs that the world is speedily coming to an end. Bribery and corruption are common. Children no longer obey their parents. Every man wants to write a book, and the end of the world is evidently approaching." Oh wow, a Bronze Age doomer. But honestly, who can blame him? Aren't we all guilty of feeling that way sometimes? Politicians that only care about lining their own pockets, climate change looming over us like a sword of Damocles, people publishing terrible books, and the children. These kids have no respect anymore. The tablets confirm this. About 3000 BCE, the old Sumerians already passed us this wisdom. For example, young people no longer respect their elders, consciously display an unkempt appearance, are intent on subversion, show no willingness to learn, and are hostile to accepted values. But in fact, the world is still around, over 5000 years after it was said to be doomed, so I guess we don't have to take these doomsayers too seriously. Neither should we blame the younger generation for all that is wrong with the world, but I think it is quite fascinating how this keeps happening. So, does nothing ever change? As Spanish philosopher George Santayana said, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So let us take the chance and learn from our distant ancestors from the Bronze Age. Yeah, Nicaea might have thought that he can get away with his copper spindle, but here we are thousands of years later, knowing exactly what kind of guy he was. And sometimes remaining in the historical record is all that matters. Like Kushim. Ever heard of her or him? You should, because they are the earliest known named person in human history. Their name appears on a Bali transaction list from around 3200 BCE. To be fair, we don't know if that's actually their name or the title of the office they held. Still, we know Kushim existed over 5000 years later. They mattered, and so do you. So let's not just look at history as a what not to do list. Let's appreciate the fact that we get to witness thousands of years of wonder just by looking back into the past. That's it from me about this topic, and thus this concludes Season 2. It was a lot of fun creating these episodes, so please let us know if you enjoyed them too. Once again, my artist and I put a lot of blood, sweat and tears into it, and I hope our commitment to improve the quality bore fruit. If you think so, or even if you think the exact opposite, please let us know in the comments. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. I will see what I can cook up to make the waiting time between seasons more bearable. And as always, a big thank you to my wonderful artist and to you viewers. We would love to see you all back for Season 3. Until then, bye! Yet merchants aren't the only tricksy dealers of the Bronze Age. Even great pharaohs stooped so low as to mix plenty of silver into their gifts of gold to fellow kings. We know this because we found plenty of written complaints, oh my god.